You can help support the channel by heading to our merchandise store and picking up some of our great aircraft designs created by our graphic designer. We'll have everything from fighters to transport aircraft, which you can choose to have printed on t-shirts, mugs, stickers and much more. Head to the description below and click the links and pick up your design today. Thank you and enjoy.
The first question is, what was the most challenging aircraft 1v1 in an F-14 and the most challenging aircraft 1v1 in an F-16? Yeah, good question. Very interesting question. Thank you to the gentleman for asking that. It really kind of boiled down in my perspective from the strengths and weaknesses of the F-14 versus your potential adversaries. The F-14 being a 6.5G airplane, which was the lowest sustained Gs of any of the fourth generation fighter, F-14, 15, 16, 18, etc., limited its ability in a two-circle fight. So meaning you would turn across each other's tails like this. And you can go look up a two-circle diagram on the internet. It's pretty easy. I've done it before. So in an F-14, the most challenging airplane to fight would be an airplane that would be the airplane that could significantly outturn you in turn rate, and that would be the F-16. The F-16 being a 9G airplane, very high sustained turn rate, would be very challenging because they would always want to force two-circle flow. They had the higher turn rate, meaning they could come nose on with weapon separation across the circle very quickly against an F-14. A two-circle fight against an F-16 was a bad idea in an F-14. So that I would not look forward to that. The airplane that I would most like to fight would be kind of a toss-up between the F-15 and the F-18. But probably 1v1, I would prefer the F-15. Because the F-15, even though it was a 7.5G airplane, I believe, or 7.3, and it had pretty good thrust to weight ratio. So two-circle, it could be a little bit problematic. But here was the thing about the F-15. It was designed as an interceptor. It was a hard-wing airplane, meaning it did not have leading-edge slats on it. And the flaps on it were literally only good for takeoff and landing. They did not, in my opinion, maybe ask your Eagle guys, but I don't recall their flaps being very useful to them in BFM, where ours were. Ours were designed, we had maneuvering flaps and slats specifically for that. So when the wings are out, we could extend the chord length and the camber of the wings and get better turn performance on the F-14. So with the Eagle, two-circle, I could generally survive with them, but my preference for them was the F-14 because it was a carrier-based airplane, had good slow-speed handling qualities. So I would have no issue forcing a one-circle fight against an F-15 where I was trying to minimize my turn radius and turn inside him to come nose on with weapon separation. So we would generally, I would against an F-15 try to force one circle flow out of plane, turn inside of his radius, knowing that he, as he bled airspeed off, was losing his pitch authority. The Eagle did not have the pitch authority we did, and I would try to work one circle inside of an F-15. Kind of a similar game plan against the F-18. The F-18 really depended on how it was configured. If it was, if we were out at sea and they had 2 and 3 tanks on them, I would have no issue taking a Hornet 2-circle. One circle with an F-18, you're kind of getting into a knife fight with a midget in a phone booth, and I didn't like that. First, I mean, some guys loved getting the Tomcat slow, and I could do it. It just wasn't my favorite thing to do. So basically, the answer is in the Tomcat, the worst situation would be 2-circle F-16. Probably one of the better situations would be 1 circle against an F-15. Now let's flip over to the Viper. The Viper, outstanding turn rate, but AOA limited because of the dynamic stability of the airplane. The turn rate and the G onset rate and the turn rate in the F-16 was epic. I mean, I loved flying that airplane, and I loved flying the pain game. I loved to take an adversary to circle and just grunt and squeeze and keep my blood pressure up, gray out, see stars. I don't care what it took to keep that airplane at 9 Gs and keep that thing turning and force two circle flow in an F-16. So what are the airplanes that would be probably, but without the pitch authority, one circle was very problematic in an F-16. You did not want to get an F-16 slow. The last place I wanted to be in an F-16 is the infamous knife fight with a midget in a phone booth. You did not ever want to go there and get slow. So probably the hardest airplane for an F-16 to fight would be one circle against an F-18, because the F-18 had phenomenal pitch authority, very great slow speed handling characteristics. You know, if you ever go and see like the Blue Angels or see an F-18 demonstration, you know, they do the slow pass. It looks like the thing is just standing still, you know, 45, 50, 60 degrees angle of attack. You know, the F-16's limited to, you know, less than 20 degrees angle of attack, even with the awesome thrust to weight ratio of the Block 50. So you didn't want to get slow and get into some kind of knife fight that required, you know, who goes slowest wins, or who has the most pitch authority wins. That was a black hole in an F-16. But in an F-16, if I could stiff arm somebody and keep them to circle and keep them on the other side of the circle, there wasn't an airplane in the world until the F-22 or the F-35 came by that we could not just slice up and, you know, in under a minute. The F-16 was that good. So, you know, the preference, I mean, I never got to fight a Tomcat when I was flying the F-16. I mean, I would have cut something off myself to have that opportunity just once, just to take a cross country up to Oceana and just go beat some people, just to be a jerk at the O Club. It would have been great one afternoon. Just once, just that's, if I could have ever done it, that would have been great. You know, the Tomcat, because of the 6.5 G sustained G against a 9 G Viper, that's just a matter of time of how fast you can get into a gun solution against an F-14. But honestly, the same kind of holds for the F-15 as well. You know, again, I feared no man when I was flying that F-16, as long as I didn't get one circle and get jammed up and get slow with a Hornet. That was the only time. And really, honestly, then all I would try to do is to set up some kind of high aspect pass or something, unload, and let my thrust to weight and superior speed extend and get away from him.